have been through all this stuff all year. They've been giving us everything they got for a year.
No matter what.
If we don't stop, we are here. We will not stop.
United will never be defeated. The people 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 united will never be defeated.
People
united will never be defeated.
People
united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. People
United will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. And my man from Milwaukee is one of the most segregated cities in the country. But at least they talk about it. Never be defeated. It's about time to have that conversation. All the way from Kenwood to Union Prairie to Kenwood Park. It's time to stop protecting children house right here. It's time to stop protecting one child. Now it's time for Minnesota to focus on growth. Because without struggle, it's time to stop protecting children house. It's time to stop protecting white silence. It's time to stop protecting struggle. No struggle. And what we set up is that we're not going to stop until we see murder charges brought to Q Carter as well. We don't want to see another member added to family supporting families against police violence. We don't want another member to be added to that. And we want to thank, I want to just say this right now. This woman right here, Tashira, some of these black women that have been out here in the streets, revolution will be led by black women. We all out here. We all out here. And the revolution will be led by all the black folks. Absolutely will. And the work that they've done does not go unnoticed. And the work that they will do going forward will not go unnoticed.
my check.
My check, Garroway. Thank you, Tashira. We have a black one. Thank you, Tashira. So thank you, Tashira. So thank you, Tashira. So thank you, Tashira. You should be in every one of your damn history books. Start going down the line. Every one of your history books going down the line. We got justice for George Floyd today. Say his name. George Floyd. 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 George Floyd. Say his name. George Floyd. George Floyd. Say his name. George Floyd. George Floyd. George Floyd. George Floyd.
I just told you to 38 to Chicago.
It's a small backpack and it's black with red clouds on it. And if somebody could please return it, that would be great. That small backpack and it's black with red clouds.
For real, Katie. Thank God for those jurors. Thank God for a touch of justice. Oh, perfect song for right now.
I like legit cannot even.
Change gonna come.
We need to give our speakers some room. All right. We need 6 feet of space. We need 6 feet. I've done enough. Let's keep the spirit of celebration out here in these streets. Let's give our speakers some room.
Soup.
All right. I need press and people 6 feet back, guys.
Friends, soup. I was just streaming the live, and I'm like, very well. Seen 4 years. He's a wonderful man. God bless him. And I want to.
But hopefully, give us room to breathe.
And do something about this. This is. How we get close. We gotta back up. Let's go.
Downtown Minneapolis, you guys. Is it still choppy quality?
You know, it's uncertain. It's such uncertain territory. You don't know. But, you know, with all the people out here, I seen people crying. I'm hugging people. They're like, thank you. I'm like, no, thank you, because it takes all of us to stand up, you know? And we showed out. So this is a step forward.
And PJ, what's next?
What's next is now, you know, now to change the policy. How do we come together as a community and use this to really step forward to, like we said, turn over a new leaf and begin to, you know, like really change the narrative for Minneapolis and the community. And I think that's what's next. You see the sentiment of the city council, you know, just all minorities in Minneapolis just coming together. So this is our time to really love on each other and say, okay, now we got this, let's take another step, and then another step, and then another step.
What about Dante Wright?
He needs justice for sure. You know, I've been working with the NAACP and the Unity community. We're working with BC and their law enforcement to really, you know, curb that. And you can see that Mayor Elliott took the right response by, you know, coming to the community and saying, how do we rectify this? How do we have community-based solutions? And how do we move forward community-led? And I think that's why you see the response in Brooklyn Center much different than you do in Minneapolis. So,
PJ Hill, thank you so much for your time.
oh, thank you. Thank you.
Did you guys hear?
You know it's serious when it's
If George don't get it,
fuck it. Fuck
if
me.
George don't get it,
It's a small.
if George don't get it, if Toby don't get it, if Toby don't get it, if Justin don't get it, if Adam don't get it, all right. So we have Courtney Ross. Come on.
Hey. Out of respect for all my young people, I'm all about young people, so I like to see all the young people. That's who I care about the most. So if I can see y'all come up close, that's who I want to see, because that's what means the most to me. I see some of y'all.
My bad.
They said don't move y'all today. Okay. All right. Woo. All right, y'all. Obviously,
host for today.
overwhelming to me, but I'm gonna do the best I can.
Go ahead, Courtney. Go ahead, Courtney.
When I met Floyd 4 years ago, excuse me now, he approached me with prayer. He asked me if he could pray with me because he knew I was down and out. So I want everyone to remember, whoever you pray to, whatever you believe in, God is good. God proved that today. Thank you, Father God. Thank you, Father God, for giving us
Behind me just got
these
slapped, bro, for being disrespectful.
Minneapolis needed it. My young people needed it. All my protesters, everybody out on the streets, boots on the ground. I know everyone's tired. I can't thank you enough. Lord can't thank you enough. His spirit is here with y'all. His big arms are reaching around everybody in this town and giving y'all big hug. I know Floyd stood for what's fair. Floyd stood for what's right. Floyd stood for those that were voiceless. And I can hear everybody yelling over here. That's what I love to hear. Keep yelling. Don't let anybody put your voice down in life. Keep it up today. It's a moment to celebrate. I want everyone to take a night to just be glad that we have one day of victory. And the battle's going to continue. We know that. But one day we can just celebrate and be happy today.
Yeah, Courtney.
Like Tashira, my girl Tashira says, put your arms around somebody today. Put your arms around somebody. Get your hug on. Get your hug on. Can we all just love each other for a moment? That's okay. Hug somebody. That's what it's about today. Hug a stranger. I know, okay, yes we do. We are in an epidemic. I'm sorry. That's terrible. Okay, now stop hugging. Give each other 6 feet. Get back to the normal. My bad.
That's gonna make it happen for all guys. This battle ain't ours, it's the Lord. This battle ain't ours, it's the Lord. For real, we gonna let God handle some of this shit. You see what he just did? I mean, I think everybody...
Es lo que se vive en este momento aquí en Minneapolis, en el downtown, perdón, amigos nuestros. Aquí, en este centro de gobierno, se dio a conocer el veredicto final. Derek Chauvin, culpable de todos los cargos que se le estaban poniendo. Vemos mucha alegría entre la comunidad afroamericana. Hay aplausos, gente llorando, hay abrazos y todos se dicen los unos a los otros justicia. Se hizo justicia por primera vez en Minneapolis, por primera vez en el condado de Hennepin. La seguridad de toda la gente del ocio, los disturbios.
I love you, George Floyd. We've been doing this for 11 months, and now we beat this shit. We just need to take them 3 out.
Le dice a George Floyd hasta el cielo que se logró.
We did what we had to do, King.
Yes.
We did what we had to do, King. We held it down, you feel me? We held this shit down. Who's free?
Dice que lo lograron, que lo hicieron.
Who's free? Who's free? Who's free? Who's free?
11 meses peleando por este caso.
Say his name.
y por muchos más, y por primera vez logran ganar un caso. Por primera vez un policía de Minneapolis será juzgado, más bien será sentenciado, irá a la cárcel.
I have this moment and all these cameras on me. Floyd was one man, everybody. I loved him with all my heart. And I'd do anything to have him standing next to me again today. But I know he gave his life so this could happen. And I know that he gave his life so that other people's cases can get reopened. We can re-examine the cases that were closed. We can get justice for people that deserve it. So some of the people in this vicinity, some of the people in this city, some of the people in this state can have maybe just an ounce of peace and justice on their side, because it's too much pain, it's too much suffering. I am telling you, no one wants to live this life where you have lost someone that you love with all of your heart. There's no glory in it. It is painful. And I beg all of you to get to know other people that have been through my struggle. I have a great audience right now, but there's so many people sitting at home that are alone, that don't have the support I have, that don't have the voice that I have, and don't have all of you to listen to them. So I encourage you, do more research, talk to more people. There's tons of people here that will talk to you about their stories. And sadly, we could go on and on and on, and everyone could tell the stories and we would be here for days, because there's been so much death in this state. I'm gonna just kind of leave on a note. Floyd, he loved to pray. Floyd loved to pray for every reason in the book. Floyd would pray over meals, of course, but Floyd would pray over us just walking across the street, or us, maybe waking up, or, us, having a meal together, whatever it may be, he would pray. And so he would always say a prayer a certain way. And so if you'd like to join me in prayer, whoever you pray to, whatever you believe in, because I'm not going to let anything else divide us. You pray to who you want to pray to. That can be a spirit, that can be the earth, that can be God, that can be Allah, that can be anybody you want. So
conscious or something, because we just went through a trial. We're going through a trial at the time. So you would think that you would be more careful of your actions. So just to lose a 20-year-old like that was a father, and as their parents, I can't even think of it.
Yeah, they got people.
How about you, Naomi?
How I feel about that was, I feel like she did it on purpose. I feel like she was scared of a young black man.
That's it right there.
And she knew it was a gun. You're trained to know which side the gun and the taser is on. And he deserves He deserves his rights.
Yeah, she just hit on a point. I feel like they're so scared of our black skin. Like, that was his weapon right there. She was so nervous because he was a young black man, and we need to get out of that. So I think that's the part that hurt me the most. His skin color was what you were scared of, and I think that's why she was so nervous. I think she was nervous because he was black. Yeah.
And if you're scared of our skin color, then don't be a cop. At the end of the day.
There you go.
Anything else you all want to say?
No, but I just hope that we continue to come together as a community and as a country. I just hope we continue to come together and strive for success and just to grow our community in the right direction.
I want to say Black Lives Matter, and please stop killing us. And you chose to be a cop at the end of the day.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yep, you're
Really
welcome.
appreciate it. Hey, what's up? How are you? Good to see you again. You want to talk at all? Okay.
Who won? So we need to realize that this victory in this moment is historic and it's amazing. But we also got to realize that this is a stepping stone to get more change. We need to understand that police brutality plagues the black and Native community, but also we need to talk about the school systems and how it's become a way to keep generational wealth. We need to talk about doctors and what they're doing to black women. We need to talk about the fact that black people get locked up at a higher rate. We have so much to do, and this is just where we're starting. And coming up next, once again, is going to be Tashira with Family Supporting Families. I gotta get over here to Courtney again. Courtney called me and said to Sheriff, I need you to be with me when this verdict is read. I need you to be with me.
Mother who lost Tony too. Yeah.
When the father of my son, Justin Tigan, and my fiance was beat to death and thrown in the dumpster, I knew that there would be more.
I gotta plug my phone in.
I knew that they had been doing this to black men and that it was going to be more. But God spoke to my heart and said, but it's going to start coming out. And May 25th, 2020, I fell asleep and I woke up. And what God had told me 11 years was here. It came out. The murders and the brutality, the hatred was on video, and it spread all over the world, and they couldn't cover it up like they did Justin Tigan murder, like they did Cordell Handy murder, like they did Marcus Golden murder, like they did Isaac Aiden murder, like they did Kobe Eisler murder, like they did Marcus Golden murder, like they did Jeffrey Smith murder, like they did Jamar Clark murder, like they did Philando Castile's murder. They could no longer cover it up. Because not only are we tired, but God is tired of what they're doing to our people. Enough is enough. And whatever it takes, my boots will be on this ground to stop them from hurting our people. George was one life, but I will not stop until
news that came in that Derek Chauvin's bail has been revoked and he's going to remain in jail until sentencing. Let this be a precedent and a warning to all killer cops. Let's go! We coming for you. We coming for you. And I don't want people to get this twisted. Think about this. This was about more than Derek Chauvin. This was a trial for a black man's life.
I'm sorry. Tell me.
If you value black lives, you lock them up.
Make way for the family.
If you value black
come on,
lives,
press.
Kim Potter gets locked
Come on,
up.
press. Make way for the family.
If you value black lives, you lock them. Gets locked up. If you value black lives, Kim Potter gets locked up. If you value black lives, everybody from the BCA that killed Dalal Eid gets locked up. So, right here in Minnesota, we set history, but unfortunately it came at the life of George Floyd. And as Tashira said, it's now going to reopen all the cases going forward. Things are going to change from the city council to the mayor to the DA to old dusty, crusty Mike Freeman to old dusty, crusty Tim Walz. I'm going to tell you something. Things going to change. If the National Guard protected black people as much as they did Speedway gas stations, we wouldn't be out here. We wouldn't be out here. And so today, and this goes out to every single one of y'all here. If we didn't show up to 63rd and Cat 3 and start some hell, Kim Potter would have had her job. They would have went on as business as usual. And in 2013, when they killed Terrence Franklin in a basement and went silent about it, everybody kept their job. It's because we didn't see the film, we didn't see the photos, we didn't get activated. But when you saw George Floyd, you all showed up. We had no choice. We had no choice. We had no choice but to demand justice. And when you showed up, he went to jail. And when we show up today, he goes to prison. And the fight continues on. The fight continues on. We need the other three to get locked up too, right? So make sure your boots are on the ground for the next several months. Make sure your boots are on the ground for the next several months.
612, F12.
What's his name? Say his name. Say his name.
So again, Chauvin has been honor that request. All three of his charges and bail have
I want to acknowledge the remarkable team that helped us prosecute the case. We put everything we had into this prosecution. We presented the best case that we could. And the jury heard us, and we're grateful for that.
Let me tell you something.
And history shows that winning cases like these can be difficult. I'm proud of every hour, every minute, and every ounce of effort we put in this case. And let me tell you, we spent many hours working on this case, did we not? We, week after week, committee meeting after committee meeting, this team never let up and it never quit. We fought every day, and we did it together. The Attorney General's office together with the Hennepin County Attorney's office. Thank you, sir. And we did it together. I'm deeply grateful to everyone who worked on the case. Most of these folks will tell you it's a bad idea to put together a team of all Michael Jordans. Nobody would want to pass the ball. This team, that was their true strength, is sharing the load, passing the ball, understanding that all of us together are smarter than any one of us alone. And that worked. Although the verdict has been rendered, this is not the end. In the coming weeks, the court will determine sentencing, and later this summer, we expect to present another case. We will not be talking about that. This verdict reminds us how hard it is to make enduring change. And I just want to finish by sharing some important historical legacy, if you allow me. In 1968, the Kerner Commission was formed to investigate the causes of uprisings across major American cities. And a man named Dr. Kenneth Clark, a famous African-American psychologist who, along with his equally accomplished psychologist wife, Mamie, contributed to compelling research in the Brown versus Board of Education case. And Dr. Clark testified at the Kerner Commission. And I want to quote you what he said. I read that report, the one in the 1919 riot in Chicago, and it was as if I were reading the report of investigating the committee of the Harlem riot in 1935, the report on investigating the Harlem riot in 1943, and the report of the McCone Commission on the Watts riot. I must say again in candor to you, the members of this commission, it's like a kind of an Alice in Wonderland with the same moving picture reshown over and over again, the same analysis, the same recommendation, and the same inaction. Those are the words of Dr. Clark in 1968. Here we are in 2021. Here we are in 2021, still addressing the same problem. Since Dr. Clark testified, we have seen Rodney King, Abner Louima, Oscar Grant, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Freddie Gray, Sandra Bland, Philando Castile, Laquan McDonald, Stephon Clark, Atiana Jefferson, Anton Black, Breonna Taylor, and now Dante Wright and Adam Toledo. This has to end. We need true justice. That's not one case. That is a social transformation that says that nobody's beneath the law and no one is above it. This verdict reminds us that we must make enduring systemic societal change. More than a month ago, months before George Floyd was murdered, the Minnesota Public Safety Commissioner John Harrington and I released the recommendations of our working group on reducing deadly force encounters with law enforcement. What all of us in that working group, including law enforcement, wanted is for everyone to go home safe. Anytime someone doesn't, everyone's lives are changed forever. We need to use this verdict as an inflection point. What if we just prevented the problem instead of having to try these cases? We don't want any more community members dying at the hands of law enforcement and their families' lives ruined. We don't want any more law enforcement members having to face criminal charges and their families' lives ruined. We don't want any more communities torn apart. One way to prevent this is to get into a new relationship where we as a society re-examine the use of force and our old subtle assumptions. I'm so proud of Chief Arredondo and the Minneapolis police officers who by their testimony said enough is enough. And another way to prevent it is by acknowledging and lifting up everyone's humanity, helping communities heal, and officers be well. Another way to prevent it is with accountability. Passing laws and instituting policies and training is important, but they must be more than words on paper, and there must be accountability for violating them.
Nice, man.
With this verdict, we have brought some accountability. Finally, this verdict demands us to never give up the hope that we can make enduring change. Generations of people said slavery would never end. Generations said Jim Crow would never end. Generations said women would never be equal to men. Generations said if you were different in any way, you could never be a full and equal member of our society. Today, we have to end this travesty of recurring, enduring deaths at the hands of law enforcement. Those beliefs are things we have to focus our attention on. And as I now do close, I just want to say to you, the work of our generation is to put unaccountable law enforcement behind us. It's time to transform the relationship between community and the people who are sworn to protect them from one that is mistrustful, suspicious, and in some cases terrifying, into one that is empathetic, compassionate, and affirming. That will benefit everyone, including police officers who deserve to serve in a profession that is honored, in departments where they don't have to worry about colleagues who don't follow the rules. Now that work is in your hands. The work of our generation is to put an end to the vestiges of Jim Crow and the centuries of trauma and finally put an end to racism. We can end it. It doesn't have to be with us into the future if we decide now to have true liberty and justice for all. The work of our generation is to say goodbye to old practices that don't serve us anymore and to put them all behind us. One conviction, even one like this one can create a powerful new opening to shed old practices and reset relationships. So with that, I just want to say that I do hope that people step forward and understand that nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something. You can do something the way like everyday people like Donald Williams and Genevieve Hanson and Christopher Martin and Charles McMillan and all those teenagers and young people stepped up and did something. You can do things like help pass the George Floyd Justice and Accountability Act. It's in your hands. Let's get the work done. And now I'd like to invite my friend and partner in justice, Michael Freeman, Hennepin County Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney General.
Well, there's a lot of news conferences coming up. I just want to tell you about some more. That was the Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison. I'll return to his comments in a moment. But just to say that Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris are expected to deliver remarks on the verdict in the Derek Chauvin trial later on this evening. That's according to the White House. We're also expecting to hear from George Floyd's family. The civil rights attorney, Ben Crump, will be joined by the family of George Floyd as well to give their news today. Let's just listen from outside the court, though.
We don't have justice until we get educational justice for people of color in this country. But today, we are moving forward. And Minnesotans, God chose us. Let's carry on this burden. Let's shine a little bit of a light, a North Star light for the rest of this country.
Development. And Vernona Boswell, manager of our Victim Services Division, has been in direct contact for nearly a year now with the family of George Floyd. Victim and witness advocates Jessica Immerman and Keith Johnson managed all the witnesses, civilian and professional. My two deputies, Lolita Ioa and Andy Lefevre, and I supplied strategic advice and coordination to this talented team 24/7. These guilty verdicts against Mr. Chauvin cannot be the end of the conversation about officer killings of civilians. We need to prevent these killings in the first place. The Minnesota legislature, as it moves into the final 3 weeks of the session, must pass a number of bills that will make policing fair and safer for all, but especially for black men and women and other people of color. I've been lobbying legislators to pass these critical bills. If they fail, then it will be time once again to have a statewide task force to hold hearings and come up with model legislation intending to put an end to these deaths. I am prepared to be part of that fight. Again, Keith, great job.
Thank you, Mike. And now I'd like to ask the trial lawyers to share some thoughts if they have any. But before I do that, I'd like to myself thank a number of people. And I'm just going to start by, why don't we just have our trial lawyers come forward, and then we'll thank our whole team. So, Jared, Steve, which one of y'all want to do it? Matt, where'd Matt go?
Thank you, Attorney General Ellison. And when I say thank you to Attorney General Ellison, I want to thank you for calling me back into public service, which is something that I was able to do as a federal prosecutor, as a state prosecutor, as an assistant county attorney in the United States Army. When I left private practice, I thought those days were behind me, but I received a call, and it was from Keith Ellison. And he gave me the opportunity to step back into public service, something that is so important to me, something that I cherish. And I would just encourage anyone, if you get a call like that as an attorney, as it's a privileged life. It's a noble profession. And if somebody calls you and they ask you for help, don't overthink it. Just do it. As I've found in my career, you get a lot more than you give. I'm honored to have stood with the Floyd family, to stood with the state of Minnesota as we go through this painful process together. And it's been my privilege to practice with this incredible, gifted trial team. And so I stand here today in gratitude. I'm thankful. I want to thank the jury for their service, for doing what was right and decent and correct and speaking the truth and finding the right verdict in this case.
I'm Jerry Blackwell, and my comments are going to be fairly brief. I want to first say thank you to all of these selfless servants that you see standing here and the many more that you do not see, who had the willingness, the courage, the passion, the intestinal fortitude to get into good trouble. They stepped into the light and they shine. And for that I say thank you. I'm grateful for them. I'm grateful for the opportunity that I've had to serve. Now, no verdict can bring George Perry Floyd back to us. But this verdict does give a message to his family that he was somebody, that his life mattered, that all of our lives matter. And that's important. And I also hope that this verdict, for all of the rest of collective, all of us, will help us further along the road toward a better humanity. Thank you all.
Matt Frank?
Well, I can't really follow that too much, but I just want to say that it's been really a privilege to work with this awesome group of dedicated, hardworking people in this endeavor. But it's also been just a total privilege to get to know the Floyd family and to spend time with them and get to know them. Because first and foremost, this is for you, George Floyd, and for your family and friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. So let me also thank very publicly Aaron Eldridge, who was part of our trial team, who's not here today, but was indispensable. Lola Velasquez Agaloo, thank you, Lola, for a wonderful job that you did. Josh Larson. Josh, thanks so much, my friend. Zuri Balmakam. Thank you, Zuri. And Natasha Robinson. I want to thank you and the next generation. The next generation of justice seekers. Dion Dodd, I want to thank you. Dion, where are you? Thank you very much. And I want to thank you, Vernona Boswell. You are a star. And I also want to thank so many other people. But with that, we're going to close our comments right now and just say that we're prepared to continue to pursue justice. Thank you.
And the deep wounds it has inflicted on communities of color time and time again. I question if we would have had this verdict had the people not hit the ground demanding justice. If there wasn't this outpouring of grief from the world, if the brave young girl had not recorded that viral video of George Floyd, I asked myself, is this what it takes to get justice for a person of color? Is this really justice? Sure, we have a guilty verdict. Sure, we have a settlement. But will things actually change? Absent any substantive change in policy, has anything really changed? How long before we're back here fighting for justice for another victim of police violence? We are in a state of affairs in our quest to obtain justice and equality, with Minnesota being ground zero of the match that has sparked this outpouring of consciousness for our shared community. We are still here waiting to cash that check that has fallen on a bankrupt system of expedient politicians and administrators and tolerant allies of the same in opposition to progress for a more perfect union. This is where the fight is today, in this moment. The same elected officials who showed up to George Floyd's funeral are some of the biggest roadblocks to progress with legislation today. While other states have taken the leap and believe in their communities in progressing, Minnesota is still beholden to the past. While we have concluded this nightmare in our quest for justice for George Floyd, a new nightmare has begun. A new quest has begun. As George Floyd's daughter put it. And the people challenging their very sense of value. We already knew this, but now you do too. During the funeral of George Floyd, I had the privilege to spend the day with Martin Luther King III, the son of the late Dr. King Jr. and his family. Martin Luther King Jr., a civil rights icon who freely gave his life to teach the world that dreaming was possible. And in that moment, and in our conversation,
Pursued one goal, justice. We pursued justice wherever it led. When I became the lead prosecutor for the case, I asked for time and patience to review the facts, gather evidence, and prosecute for the murder of George Floyd to the fullest extent the law allowed. I want to thank the community for giving us that time and allowing us to do our work. That long, hard, painstaking work has culminated today. I would not call today's verdict justice, however, because justice implies true restoration. But it is accountability, which is the first step towards justice. And now the cause of justice is in your hands. And when I say your hands, I mean the hands of the people of the United States. George Floyd mattered. He was loved by his family and his friends. His death shocked the conscience of our community, our country, the whole world. He was loved, family and friends. But that isn't why he mattered. He mattered because he was a human being. And there is no way we can turn away from that reality. The people who stopped and raised their voices on May 25th, 2020, were a bouquet of humanity, a phrase I stole from my friend Jerry Blackwell. A bouquet of humanity, old, young, men and women, black and white, a man from the neighborhood just walking to get a drink, a child going to buy a snack with her cousin, an off-duty firefighter on her way to a community garden, brave young women, teenagers, who press record on their cell phones. Why did they stop? They didn't know George Floyd. They didn't know he had a beautiful family. They didn't know he had been a great athlete, and they didn't know he was a proud father or that he had people in his life who loved him. They stopped and raised their voices, and they even challenged authority because they saw his humanity. They stopped and they raised their voices because they knew that what they were seeing was wrong. They didn't need to be medical professionals or experts in the use of force. They knew it was wrong. And they were right. These community members, this bouquet of humanity, did it again in this trial. They performed simple yet profound acts of courage. They told the truth, and they told the whole world the truth about what they saw. They were vindicated by the chief of police, by Minneapolis' longest-serving police officer, and by many other police officers who stepped up and testified as to what they saw and to what they knew. What happened on that street was wrong. We owe it, and we owe our gratitude to we owe them our gratitude for fulfilling their civic duty and for their courage in telling the truth. To countless people in Minnesota and across the United States who joined them in peacefully demanding justice for George Floyd, we say, all of us, thank you. In the coming days, more may seek to express themselves again through petition and demonstration. I urge everyone to honor the legacy of George Floyd by doing so calmly, legally, and peacefully. I urge everyone to continue the journey to transformation and justice. It's in your hands now. I also want to address the Floyd family, if I may. Over the last year, the family of George Floyd had to relive again and again the worst day of their lives when they lost their brother, their father, their friend. I'm profoundly grateful to them for giving us the time we needed to prosecute this case. They have shown the world what grace and class and courage really look like. Although a verdict alone cannot end their pain, I hope it's another step on the long path toward healing for them. There's no replacing your beloved Perry, or Floyd, as his friends called him, but he is the one who sparked a worldwide movement, and that's important. We owe our thanks to the men and women of the jury who gave many hours of their time and attention to carefully listening to the evidence, weighing the facts, rendering a verdict. They are regular people from all walks of life, a lot like that bouquet of humanity on that corner on May 25th and in that courtroom. They answered the call, and they served in a landmark trial. They now deserve to return to their lives. If they ask you to respect their privacy, we ask you to honor that request. I want to acknowledge the remarkable team that helped us prosecute the case. We put everything we had into this prosecution. We presented the best case that we could, and the jury heard us, and we're grateful for that. We had the sole burden of proof in the case, and history shows that winning cases like these can be difficult. I'm proud of every hour, every minute, and every ounce of effort we put in this case, and let me tell you, we spent many hours working on this case, did we not? We, week after week, committee meeting after committee meeting, this team never let up, and it never quit. We fought every day, and we did it together. The Attorney General's office together with the Hennepin County Attorney's office. Thank you, sir. And we did it together. I'm deeply grateful to everyone who worked on the case. Most of these folks will tell you it's a bad idea to put together a team of all Michael Jordans. Nobody would want to pass the ball. This team, that was their true strength, is sharing the load, passing the ball, understanding that all of us together are smarter than any one of us alone. And that worked. Although the verdict has been rendered, this is not the end. In the coming weeks, the court will determine sentencing, and later this summer, we expect to present another case. We will not be talking about that. This verdict reminds us how hard it is to make enduring change. And I just want to finish by sharing some important historical legacy, if you allow me. In 1968, the Kerner Commission was formed to investigate the causes of uprisings across major American cities. And a man named Dr. Kenneth Clark, a famous African-American psychologist, who, along with his equally accomplished psychologist wife, Mamie, contributed to compelling research in the Brown versus Board of Education case. And Dr. Clark testified at the Kerner Commission. And I want to quote you what he said. I read that report, the one in the 1919 riot in Chicago, and it was if I were reading the report of investigating the committee of the Harlem riot in 1935, the report on investigating the Harlem riot in 1943, and the report of the McCone Commission on the Watts riot. I must say again in candor to you, the members of this commission, it's like a kind of an Alice in Wonderland, with the same moving picture reshown over and over again, the same analysis, the same recommendation, and the same in action. Those are the words of Dr. Clark in 1968. Here we are in 2020, 2021. Here we are in 2021, still addressing the same problem. Since Dr. Clark testified, we have seen Rodney King, Admiral Louima, Oscar Grant, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Freddie Gray, Sandra Bland, Philando Castillo, Laquan McDonald, Stephon Clark, Atiana Jefferson, Anton Black, Breonna Taylor, and now Dante Wright and Adam Toledo. This has to end. We need true justice. That's not one case. That is a social transformation that says that nobody's beneath the law and no one is above it. This verdict reminds us that we must make enduring systemic societal change. More than a month ago, months before George Floyd was murdered, the Minnesota Public Safety Commissioner John Harrington and I released the recommendations of our working group on reducing deadly force encounters with law enforcement. What all of us in that working group, including law enforcement, wanted is for everyone to go home safe. Anytime someone doesn't, everyone's lives are changed forever. We need to use this verdict as an inflection point. What if we just prevented the problem instead of having to try these cases? We don't want any more community members dying at the hands of law enforcement and their families' lives ruined. We don't want any more law enforcement members having to face criminal charges and their families' lives ruined. We don't want any more communities torn apart. One way to prevent this is to get into a new relationship where we as a society re-examine the use of force and our old settled assumptions. I'm so proud of Chief Arredondo and the Minneapolis police officers who by their testimony said enough is enough. And another way to prevent it is by acknowledging and lifting up everyone's humanity, helping communities heal, and officers be well. Another way to prevent it is with accountability. Passing laws and instituting policies and training is important, but they must be more than words on paper, and there must be accountability for violating them. With this verdict, we have brought some accountability. Finally, this verdict demands us to never give up the hope that we can make enduring change. Generations of people said slavery would never end. Generations said Jim Crow would never end. Generations said women would never be equal to men. Generations said if you were different in any way, you could never be a full and equal member of our society. Today, we have to end this travesty of recurring, enduring deaths at the hands of law enforcement. Those beliefs are things we have to focus our attention on. And as I now do close, I just want to say to you, the work of our generation is to put unaccountable law enforcement behind us. It's time to transform the relationship between community and the people who are sworn to protect them from one that is mistrustful, suspicious, and in some cases terrifying, into one that is empathetic, compassionate, and affirming. With that will benefit everyone, including police officers who deserve to serve in a profession that is honored, in departments where they don't have to worry about colleagues who don't follow the rules. Now that work is in your hands. The work of our generation is to put an end to the vestiges of Jim Crow and the centuries of trauma and finally put an end to racism. We can end it. It doesn't have to be with us into the future if we decide now to have true liberty and justice for all. The work of our generation is to say goodbye to old practices that don't serve us anymore and to put them all behind us. One conviction, even one like this one can create a powerful new opening to shed old practices and reset relationships. So with that, I just want to say that I do hope that people step forward and understand that nobody can do everything, but everybody can do something. You can do something the way like everyday people like Donald Williams and Genevieve Hanson and Christopher Martin and Charles McMillan and all those teenagers and young people stepped up and did something. You can do things like help pass the George Floyd Justice and Accountability Act. It's in your hands. Let's get the work done. And now I'd like to invite my friend and partner in justice, Michael Freeman, Hennepin County Attorney.
It is still, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I have to tell y'all, this ain't over. There was another police
Thank you, Mr. Attorney.